I got the treasurer.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna call this meeting to order because we have a quorum, which is very exciting. We are going to transition from doing a roll call to doing an introduction, which I think might also just be a little bit more personable. So Amanda Moser, Airport Heights.
Daniel George, Mountain View.
Evan Leaf, Sand Lake.
Kathleen Bucket, Preston Jack.
James Thornton, Ferry.
Mike Edgerton Goodwood.
Kevin Black, Will Park.
Kathy Gleason, Turnigan. Staff.
Allie, staff. Ari, staff. Oh, we've got a new person. We'll give them a second to sit in. Anybody on the Zoom want to introduce themselves?
I'm Marilyn Pillafont from Rogers Park Community Council.
Bob French from Government Hill.
Don Crafts, Basher.
Mike Kenny from Rabbit Creek. Cliff Cook, Eagle River.
Letnikov, Turnigan.
Two Turnigans. Yeah, when we get to voting, let's just specify who's voting.
Yeah, I'm the delegate. She's our alternate.
Okay.
Then everybody online.
I think we have Al and Gary as well.
Yeah, Gary Majors, Old Seward, Ocean View.
Al Millsball University, and I'll be leaving about 10 minutes to 7 for another Zoom meeting.
We had Todd join us in the room and we're introducing ourselves.
I'm Todd, senior area. Jason Norris, South Middle Valley.
Cool.
First timer.
Next on the agenda, approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve? Move to approve the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Aye. Cool. Next, we have approval of minutes
From June.
from June. Can I get a motion to approve? Move to approve. Thanks, Kathy. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Aye. Cool. Pass. Chair report. Couple things to go over today. One thing that we are really excited to focus on is to make sure that each community council has a seated member identified. The other thing that is important in this space is that our bylaws are pretty clear that if you miss more than 3 meetings in a row or it's vacant, that impacts our quorum and our voting. And so we are going to make sure we communicate to all of the community councils and let folks know if you need to come back to righteousness, if you've sort of strayed away, and if you need to have maybe a different delegate. But I think a couple things that work we do here is incredibly important, but we need the voices in the room and we need the quorum and we need to be able to make sure that we have enough members here to vote. And we just want to make sure that all different parts of town are represented. So when we have councils that don't have somebody coming and we have other councils that have folks consistently, it makes it a little bit of an uneven playing field. And so we want to make sure that we are making this accessible and available for all folks, because I think we are going to make better decisions and better represent our community if we are all here. So our executive director will be sending out communications to community councils that, first of all, don't have a delegated member so that they can assign somebody. And then also, we're going to be communicating to community councils that have been not in attendance, and especially if they're like 3 meetings in a row, so that they can come back to righteousness.
Yes. And for the record, we had Lizzie join from Abbott.
Awesome. Okay. The other thing that we are, the other thing that we're excited to talk about is, I think the Federation of Community Councils is really an interesting body, the delegates, because we're two things at the same time. First and foremost, we are the board of directors for a nonprofit, and our nonprofit is the Federation of Community Councils. We have a 501(c)(3). And I think in the space of a nonprofit, we have business that we need to do so that the nonprofit can effectively run. But then we are also representatives from community councils across the city, representing the voices across the city. And so we have introduced a new agenda format that allows the first part of our agenda to really address the business matters of the 501(c)(3) and of the sort of organization that we have our fearless leader Ari here handling with all of our sort of like money and accounting and all of those things. And then the second half of the meeting will allow us to be more focused on the community councils and the delegates. And I think like one thing that I've sort of picked up on is we kind of wear these two separate hats, and it might be easier to think about the work that we do in these two separate roles if we kind of split it out. So when we are talking about the business of the 501(c)(3), we can really approach that from the business side of things. But then when we are talking about sort of the community council and the neighborhood elements, we will be able to be more in that mindset. Does that make sense to folks?
I do have a maybe clarifying question that I should know, but maybe haven't looked at the bylaws in a long time. So are the delegates of the community councils part of the board of directors of the FCC nonprofit entity? So we wear that formal hat and then also just representation of our council.
Well, and I think, yes, and I think that the interesting thing that we're talking about right now is maybe been a disconnect for a long time. And I think it's something that in the last couple of meetings, as we've sort of brought forward more business, like 501(c)(3), we've had like a pretty strong reaction. And I think that we sort of stepped back and we were like, what's going on here? And how do we sort of navigate this space? And I think like, we've also been, having conversations with, 4acre, which is an organization that provides supports to nonprofits. And we're like, hey, what's going on? And they were sort of like, oh, I think that there's this sort of disconnect between the two different areas that your team works in. And it might be helpful, I mean, this was their suggestion to split out the agenda. So we can be a little bit more focused in both spaces. And I think like, not get sort of like wrapped around the wheel on some of the like more like business side of things. And then I think like, we went out and we got additional money so that we could bring in a highly qualified and skilled leader. And like, I think some of the stuff is like really exciting to sort of let her lead on and let us as the board focus on the vision and mission, which is like the really exciting thing that we should be doing as a board. And then
voice privacy content.
and let like the sort of nuts and bolts thing kind of like happen more, but like making sure that we're clearly communicating it and moving forward. Make sense? Okay, and I think like we're gonna keep communicating as we move forward and make sure that folks are in the loop and like sort of just checking in and moving forward. In the space of checking in and moving forward, I think folks may know that I got a new job in July. And after I took the new job, I spoke with the executive committee, but very specifically with Ari, and I said, I think it's gonna be really busy at the beginning, but I think I'm gonna be able to I'm going to be able to prioritize the different things and continue to serve in this role. And I've realized in the last like 52 days that I am not providing the support that I need to provide to Ari, and I think that is one of the critical roles of a chair of an organization. And I will say, like, in my past life, I've been an executive director, and the most important thing that an executive director needs is support from the chair and from the e-board in order to successfully do their stuff, and especially because we are in this new model of having an executive director and that we've brought on sort of a highly skilled and qualified individual. And so I am realizing that I'm not serving Ari and more importantly, this organization as it needs to be served during this critical time, because we made huge changes and we got twice as much funding as we've ever had before in order to move this organization forward. And because I am not able to provide the support that needs to be done, I'm holding it back. And so I have chatted with the executive board and with Ari, and I've said, it breaks my heart because I love all the work that we've done, but I think I need to step down from the role as chair, but I'm gonna stay on the board as a delegate representing my community council of Airport Heights. But like, I think that's part of leadership, is recognizing when you are not serving and when you are not leading. And I think it's critical that Ari has the support that she needs in order to like really move this organization forward. And so I think Mike Edgington is interested in stepping up, but what we're doing is we're making the announcement now and opening it up for folks to have a conversation, and then we will have chair voting at the September meeting. Questions, concerns, thoughts, feelings?
You'll be acting as interim president until the next
Yeah.
nominations?
I'll continue to serve until there's a replacement,
Mhm.
and I'm not doing the best that I should do, but I'm trying really hard.
And so hard. The checks get signed.
Other questions, thoughts, concerns, feelings?
If you're interested outside of Mike stepping. You can just let us know. It's all- Okay, great. Sorry, Kathy.
I just have a question.
Absolutely.
As I always do, I never have answers, but I have questions. Just as an aside, I'm not even sure what your exact title is. Can you just briefly tell us what your role within the muni is now and kind of what you do?
Yeah, so I am part of the LaFrance administration, and so I've been selected as one of the executive team members, and I'm her external affairs director. And so my role is really focused on communicating the work that our team is doing. And part of the external affairs director title is also building relationships within the community, because I think one thing that is paramount to our team and the work that we recognize that we need to do is that we've got a lot to do and we can't do it alone. And so we need to make sure that we build partnerships and collaborations and stakeholders. And so we are really making sure that we are widening the table, pulling up more chairs and having broader and more constructive conversations. And I think, like, I will share with everyone, when I took the job, I read the bylaws. It didn't appear that there was a direct conflict. Having been in the job for like 52 days now, there have been times where, it is, and there is a space where it will maybe be good for me to step back from this leadership role in order for the organization to more directly advocate without it being a kind of weird conflict of interest. So I think there's a little bit of like space that we recognize in there, but like, I'm excited to still be an active member of the board and to work alongside the rest of the board, because we've got work to do. And like, I think we're all here because we love Anchorage and we want to make Anchorage like the great place for everybody.
Then you've got a question for Marilyn on Zoom.
Marilyn.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, hi. Thank you for that, Amanda, and congratulations on your appointment. I'm sorry to see you go. I'm very excited to see how the reorganization of the Federation of Community Councils evolves. And I think that you've been the 3 meetings I've been at, you've been very articulate, and you seem to have had a synergy with Ariana, I think it is, right? And so I'm glad you'll still be delegate, but good luck and thank you for that. I think it's best to not have conflicts of interest. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Marilyn. And I think one thing for your consideration is there will be a vacancy on the e-board. And so maybe that could be a great opportunity for you if you want to get more involved at the higher level. And I will say I'm not going far, like I will still be a part of the Board of Delegates. I just will not be in this leadership position. I will just be the person that's making either the motion or the second.
I think I'll stay as a delegate for the moment.
So any other questions? Okay, a couple other updates for me. We have been talking about organizational committees and we are excited that we are going to have a financial committee, which every 501c3 board should have. We are also we'd like to roll out a governance committee, a communications committee, an outreach committee, which Evan has agreed to be the lead on, which is very exciting. And then training, I think one thing that we recognize is the great opportunity. There are sign-up sheets here in the room for folks online. You can always reach out to Ari at any time. And, Mike will be the lead on financial, but we are looking for a lead on governance, communications, and training. So great opportunities. And then
I just want to say on this too, like if you are interested in the work that I'm trying to put forward, like I don't want to do it on my own and I don't want to do it in a vacuum. And so as I've been, putting stuff forward to the executive committee, like having you guys there to help me formulate it with the community council, always keeping the community councils in mind is like what these committees are for. So please come help me as we're developing the future of this organization.
So can you give a rundown of all the committees that are being created? Because I maybe missed.
Yeah, financial, governance, communications, outreach, and training.
Thank you.
And the last really exciting thing from my update is that we have a FCC Board of Delegates training, and I will say last year we got a generous gift from the ombudsman and the municipality of Anchorage of $10,000 for us to do additional training. Because we were in a period of transition and had such limited resources last year, we weren't able to effectively use the money, so we returned it to the city because I think we are good stewards of the people's money. But they gave it to us again this year. And so now we're using it to roll out some training, and we are going to have training on Tuesday, September 17th from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it's going to talk about board responsibilities. And so I talked a little bit before about we are a 501c3. And I think one thing that is going to be really important, but more specifically exciting for everyone is to really lean into the joy of being on a board of directors and sort of how you can effectively be a positive voice in the space. It'll be here at the FCC offices. We won't have the Zoom option, so we will invite everyone to be here in person. And this is in collaboration with Lori Wolf from 4Acre. And, I think 4Acre is the lead in Alaska on nonprofits. And, I've done training with them in the past. Ari's doing training with them now. They are an incredible resource. And we really want to do strategic planning so we can really get grounded in our vision and mission for the work over the years. And I think this is really in the space of the FCC becoming a more proactive organization and less of a reactive organization. What is our vision for the city and how can we get there? And so this training on the 17th will sort of be that first step of the strategic planning, which we'll do the following year, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Okay. pending that we get a grant, which we're applying for, right?
Yep.
Okay. Questions?
Maryland has one.
I have a question about the date. So it's September 17th from 5 to 8?
Correct.
And I'll
Yes.
send up a follow-up email.
Okay. Thank you.
Kathy?
Hopefully that doesn't conflict with the assembly meeting night.
Does conflict with the assembly meeting night, unfortunately. It's just that I'm pretty sure the assemblies are on that, I would imagine it's on that day. It's the day before our board meeting, which is why we picked that day. It's also the day that 4 acres is available.
Hopefully nothing important's on the agenda
Hopefully.
that affects neighborhoods.
Do you have anything else?
That is all I got.
Okay,
I was gonna ask for clarification on the,
I don't think it's,
is it every other week on the assembly?
I don't think that the 17th is an assembly meeting.
Oh, that would be.
oh, interesting, okay. Our
Yeah,
board
they don't
meetings are
meet
usually the same
every
week, yeah.
other, So, but I don't know what their schedule is.
But sometimes, yeah, they're having a meeting on the 10th.
Oh, okay, perfect, then
So they probably
So it's
won't.
an off night for,
They're not having one on the
that's
17th.
I'll put that in the notes.
It's not on my calendar.
and is there a kind of an agenda or something? Cause right now there won't be a meeting in Campbell Park prior to that, so somehow I gotta get that info, like, well, what's gonna be at the training? Cause I know there's 3 or 4 that wanna come.
So the training is for delegates, board of delegates, and the purpose is, it's the first part of our strategic plan of what our organization wants to do. So us setting kind of what the role of the board is and what good practices are, so that then when we go into strategic planning, everyone's on the same page
So
about.
it's not training for our people back in our councils.
But that is separate, and am gonna talk about that in my report, and we'll send a lot of messaging on the council public training.
I think we're done with my report, so we can go into your.
Does that make sense? We're doing both. We're doing a board training, and then I have training that's for like councils and board members of councils and that kind of stuff.
The question, final, can alternates also attend?
Absolutely.
Okay. Karen, did you hear that?
I mean, maybe and you'll probably address this. But
Yeah.
maybe my concern is that doing our board first, or whatever that starts with, is that gonna leave enough time between now and the end of the year to get people? I mean, we've been kind of promising this training since 2018.
So.
And I know that's not necessarily on your plate, but I kinda, and I'm kinda asking her, what do you see happening as far as the training of bringing the, like the chair and the vice chair of Campbell Park to some kind of training, which is similar to what maybe the ombudsman's office did several years ago?
Right, so we do have training plan, which I talked about in our April meeting, and I'll like lay that out as far as like, this is what I can accomplish in this year, and then what we're gonna do like in the long term as well, and continuing to offer options for training for board members, hopefully yearly, and resources all the time, because boards change. So like, I can't promise that I can answer their specific trainings like right now, but I'll get into like what training we are offering this year for councils and board members. And then if there's something that we aren't hitting as part of this year's, I will take whatever feedback and like try to schedule more trainings next year as well.
And Kevin, I just, like, we're gonna go into the talk about more trainings, but I think like, throughout my talk, I talked a lot about like recognizing that we are a board of directors for a 501(c)(3), and I think we haven't necessarily always maybe approached the conversation about that, and that is what this specific training is about. But it doesn't mean it's the only training, and now
Yeah. And if you're still confused at the end, like I'll chat.
I don't know if I'm confused. I just wanna make sure that some of the promise, and whether it was yours or not, that there will be information, like I think there's people that are trying to make up their mind that in December or January, do they wanna be on a board of a community council next year?
Yeah.
And part of that has been that they've been told that they're going to get some training. And I'm nervous that if we kick it into 2025 now, we're gonna be past the election time in my particular council, and then that's gonna be another year. I don't know if that's a legit concern. It is a concern.
Can we let Ari talk?
Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
I think I answered your question, so just let me see, so just on the report front for this, staff report for August. Some of the things we're coming up, the audit, we have given the final notes to the auditor, so I should have the final report for that for our September meeting. Fiscal sponsorship, though we are back doing fiscal sponsorship, as well as we have sent out notices about bank accounts being attached to our EIN. I will be holding training with our accountant and with our treasurer, Mike Edgington, in early September. If your board is confused about like what the EIN change means for you and what your options are, we're gonna have a Zoom training that you or your treasurer or your president can hop on, and we will try to the best of our abilities to answer questions. So that's coming. If in the meantime you have any questions, please reach out to me, phone, email. I am here. Every community council is very different. So like training on your financials is really a case by case basis, which is why I ask people to just come chat with me and we can figure out what makes sense because everybody has a different situation. Also, I do know we're rolling in to community council election season. What I will say is that there are community council elections almost every month of the year minus summer. So like when we talk about winter elections, they're all the time. But when it comes to what our office can do to support your organization, if you guys want notices to go out in advance, if you need us there to help with counting votes or you're concerned about sign-up sheets and all of that, whatever you think you guys need, just reach out. I'm happy to help. This is my first year, so I'm trying to figure out what that support looks like. And so if you have ideas, please do come to me. We have a new logo. I'm very excited. The process of doing this logo was, I found a graphic designer. We solicited feedback on the 3 prototype designs that she came up with. We got a really decent amount of feedback from that. And what I will say is we really wanted to keep what some of the positives of our old logo was. And some of the elements and move that into the new logo. So you'll see it's not a very, it still looks color-wise and some of the objects that are in the logo are very similar. We included Anchorage, Eagle River, and Girdwood as like part of that full one, and acknowledgement that we are not just the Anchorage Federation of Community Councils, but we go from Clutna Valley to Girdwood. And so this is like the color scheme and what it kind of looks like. So you'll start to see that pop up. And this is the first step in our website redesign timeline. So we have the logo. We've signed the contract with our vendor. We're using TexRUs, who currently handles our website. We are doing a community input survey, which we sent out notices to everybody on our list. It's on our website in a couple of places as well. So if just we have random traffic coming in, we can try and get their input. We've gotten about 60 people responding so far, and we're going to send out a final reminder. The survey closes at the end of August, and we'll use that feedback. And my hopes is the communications committee will help me with the website prototype, which will be the next thing. The graphic designer will take our new logo and some of the feedback, some of the things that we know we want in this website, and create some prototypes. That will be a feedback process with both the executive committee and the communications committee. And then they'll finish the build, they'll migrate the website, and they'll have training resources that go live prior to the migration and after the migration. We will have videos and documentation and be hosting trainings. And that whole process will happen in the new year. And so probably in January is when we'll have a live new website. So if you want to be in on that process, join the communications committee, help me figure it out.
Super exciting
I'm
because
so excited.
the website, I feel like, is the number one thing that makes it challenging to access.
Absolutely. Our training series that I was talking about, that's for the public, is our town hall series. It's a 3-part series starting September 23rd, demystifying community councils, understanding their role in fostering civic engagement. And then we've got navigating community council meetings, which is mastering meeting format, Robert's rules, and articulating your opinions. And the last one being specifically for board members, guiding community council meetings, leading diverse stakeholders with vision. I will send this out because I know it's kind of hard to see on this television. It is on our website. There's a training page on the website. This is also live on Eventbrite. And so the link for that is on our website as well. I've been talking about it when I've been going to community council meetings. It's going to be live streamed on YouTube and then saved. So if you can't go in person, the event is free. So the tickets are free. It's at the library. And so, yeah, talk about it with all of your people. Daryl Hess and Jasmine Smith of Mountain View will be 2 of our speakers for the first one. I am still asking for volunteers, and if you're interested in helping with the training, join the training committee. And also, we are looking for some people just to help with like welcoming people and some of that stuff on the day of. Very small time commitment.
I can't read, so can you say the date of each one of these? I
Yeah,
can't tell.
September
Small.
23rd,
Okay,
October 21st, and November 18th. They're all Mondays, so they don't conflict with assembly meetings.
could be planning and zoning commission, but.
I'm never going to win.
So-
It's either a community council day, planning and zoning, assembly.
Well, that's the kind of stuff that everybody has to be aware of whenever we schedule things.
Yeah.
Because it's a real thing.
Yeah,
And
yeah, unfortunately, the Monday and Tuesday prior to our meetings are like the only day, other than Fridays, that don't have community council meetings, and so I had to kind of pick and choose, and
No, I think that sounds great.
Monday was the day. Marilyn, did I miss a question? Sorry. I think you're on mute. Hey, Marilyn, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I was trying to get rid of the thumbs up and the hand, but if would this be this series of trainings that you've got here, will you be putting that in an attachment or email for community councils or all the people who are participating in these meetings, so they have that, because it would be a nice little thing to put on my little bulletin board and hand out to other people. So at our first meeting in September.
Yes, ma'am. We will be posting this. It is, like I said, on the website. I just finalized getting like the last little pieces together to go live. So we will be sending this out to our whole list. It will go to presidents. I'm talking about it in community council meetings. It will be flyered at every place you see a flyer in town. I want to do bus ads. We will do Facebook ads. We are highly publicizing this event, especially as this is a big kickoff for us. And the hope being that this is not the first and final one, but is, we continue to have these trainings, and then also this being recorded, something that I can refer future people who are interested in these topics back to. So
Awesome.
Yeah. And yes, we'll do a follow-up email probably this week with some of the documents from this for delegates to take back.
Awesome. That's great.
And Karen, I think I saw a question. Yes, it is live on the website. Okay, great. Some of the outreach we have coming up, we're gonna have a booth at Anchorage Park Foundation's Parks and Trails Fair. So if you're interested in coming and hanging out with me from 10 to 2 on, I believe it's September 21st, I will be there talking about community councils. I've also spoken with the ASD, Social Studies curriculum about how we can bring community council, with Evan, actually, as part of our outreach committee, how we can bring community councils, and local governance into our students' classrooms, how we can provide resources for them in curriculum so that teachers are able to talk about what local governance is in Anchorage. And then I'm also going around and doing presentations to councils. If I haven't hit your council, it's just because many of you are on the same date, and I will be reaching out. And then citywide things that are going on for councils to be aware of. Tom Davis is coming in today to talk about community council boundaries. We're really excited about what that process is and what the future is going to look like. And then you may not be aware, or you may be aware, CIP surveys. The Assembly has had 3 work sessions since 2023 on the subject. There's a lot of conversation. I am personally keeping track of it and trying to make sure that community councils not only remain a vital part of that, but their interests are at the top of the list. And then also fixing some of the basics of that survey is really difficult to manage, and everything is on one list and it should be split up in some of those things. So I'm continuing to keep track of that and just making you guys aware. If you have any questions or feedback on the CIP surveys, feel free to send it my way, and I'm happy to keep passing it along to both the Assembly and the administration. So,
Question.
yeah.
Used to be really easy, but
Yeah.
seems like, and no disrespect, but when this past administration came on board and they changed all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
The community website, everything, just from my personal perspective, for the worst.
Yeah.
And I kept getting timed out when I tried to input hours back before the deadline and Zoom. So ours isn't even, submitted yet.
Right.
And so, even if it's just our community council, for everybody else succeeded, what's our recourse to make sure that that list gets submitted to the right people? I can just do it via email, whatever it might take so that we're on record that we did try.
I am still, if I get them, I am still sending them to OMB at this point. They're in the process where I believe they're beginning to make their decisions for 2025. So you can still send it and I'll pass it along to OMB.
Okay.
OMB though is aware of the technical issues. Ona spoke on this in the last work session, and I'm gonna have a chat with her as well to try and figure out like some of those technical issues. It being that like the system isn't necessarily broken, but it's not fully functioning. So how can we fix it to make it better?
Okay, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate that.
Yeah, no, and the Federation understands, like, especially as staff, how important that particular process is. And so we want to do training, messaging, outreach around that issue. And it sounds like both the Assembly and the administration also want to do that. So I think we are all understanding that it's not working. We have a new administration who's excited to fix it. How do we fix it? That's the question.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay, that's my thing. I think it's Mike.
Okay, treasurer's reports. So I'm gonna go through this very quickly because I know we're a couple of minutes behind. Harry also already mentioned the audit, so we'll be sharing more information about that next month. We're also in the process of putting together a budget with Gaming in the future. There was quite a lot of work about, obviously, the fiscal policy over the last couple of months, so I hope everyone's happy with that. I'm also going to do a plug for the Finance Committee. Really appreciate as much help as possible on that, especially from people with more expertise than me. There's a number of things we have in our policy now which probably need updating as we're implementing some things more formally. And then finally, profit and loss for July. This document is on the screen and probably hard to read. Probably in the future we'll probably print this out. It's pretty much as expected. The only thing I would point out is there was a shift of one chunk of money, which was the website change. The money came out of
The logo. We moved the logo.
The logo development was being recorded against computer services in the report last month. That's part of the website design that goes under a different bucket, so it's been moved out into a separate P&L, which is to do with the money that we've effectively inherited from last year. Apart from that, are there any questions? Happy to answer them. No, we can go on to the next item.
Any questions? Did I miss anybody?
No.
Perfect. July policy. This is me, you? What is this? Have you ever read it? There's no letters about that.
Did we take official action on policy, quorum calculation, vacancies, that kind of thing?
No, we didn't because we're going by what the bylaws say, right, which are a thing.
So what is our quorum number we need?
I think it's 16 if you're at meeting. I think it's normally 19.
Which council is and the delegate?
Yeah.
That's our, okay.
Mike, can I have a team assistant? Because now to the ratification, which I know is like your idea.
Yeah, sure, I can introduce this briefly. So, the idea here is, there was a lot of discussion about the digital outreach policy, and I think there was a little bit of confusion. It took me a while to understand the distinction between communication within community council, where the president wants to send out a message to members, and communication where some outside organization is asking for the FCC to distribute something to a community council, like we saw recently on a couple of items in the last couple of weeks. So the digital outreach policy here is all about the latter case. And I think there was a little bit of confusion, but to keep things moving, what I suggested at the 2 meetings ago, I think it was, is that the policy should be put together, and then the board of delegates can basically do an up or down ratification. So really the question is here, as you read through this again, this is primarily about the communication from other organizations asking the FCC to distribute something to their full list or part of the municipality. So that's what we have here. If you have any detailed questions, Barry is probably the first person to ask about the details, and I'm happy to follow up on my understanding as well.
Just to clarify, this vote is yes or no.
Yeah,
We
no
discussed the outline of this at the last meeting. This is just a yay or nay. If it passes, we'll move forward and staff will create procedure. If it doesn't pass, then we will try to figure out what it looks like. But yeah.
Any discussion?
Do we have a chance to take a quick look at it?
Yeah, I think that's fine.
A really quick.
This way, yeah.
A quick look.
No.
Do we actually have a quorum?
We have.
We just,
I know the
Yes.
presence of a quorum.
Oh, okay.
all those in, any other discussion?
Yes, is there a motion to approve?
I will move to ratify the digital outreach policy.
All those in favor? Aye.
I'll second that motion.
Oh, yeah. I'm just.
She's ready. I know, you're so anxious.
One step out of the
And then online, you can thumbs up or high five.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 Hang on, let us get it. Any gauge? Anyone else? We've got Marilyn and Donald for the ayes. Anyone else online an aye?
You can use a thumbs up or a hands up.
Bob, 3, Mike, 4. Cliff, 5. Okay, so that's 5 online, great. Can I get hands up in here? Sorry, I have to count. 4, 5, is that an up or down? Lizzie.
Oh, it's like, I'm not sure what I'm voting on, so.
Oh, we're voting on the digital outreach.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. 11. plus we had 5 online, so we're at 16. Whoa. Yeah, I guess I didn't even ask the others. All those opposed? It would just be online. Is anybody online opposed or are they just abstaining? No? No opposed, just abstain.
Next on our agenda, we have a brief comment period.
Yep.
This is the end of our business agenda.
Yeah, now we have a break.
We have a small break before we go into our community council collaboration meeting. Everyone can use the restroom, grab a snack.
Just like off the record, I love the collaboration too, because now we can switch and you guys get to be just representatives of your council and we can like talk about councils and the future of Anchorage and all of that in like a real way and not have to deal with all the like questions I need to answer. Oh, Marilyn, is your hand still raised or is it just stuck
It
there?
is. No, I raised my hand again because I have to go at 7 o'clock. And
Okay.
I wondered if I could just make a quick announcement about Rogers Park.
Sure.
At the beginning, when we come back from break, or
Does that work for everybody?
Yeah.
If she just does her section? Great.
should I go now or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we're having, sorry, I've got this. And if you drive around Rogers Park, it's not very visible, but we're having a block party and we've got invitations that are out and we're inviting everyone in our community council to come and then meet the neighbors and hang out for a bit. And so just wanted folks to know that's on September 7th from 4 to 9:30. But should be fun. There is a block party. There'll be little kid bike races and other things that adults can do, like hula hoop, if anybody remembers that, and cornhole, etc. So anyway, thank you for letting me announce that, but I'm going to have to sign off. And nice meeting. Thank you very much. And sorry to see, I'll still see you, Amanda, I guess, but good work, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Thank you. Bye.
A brief comment on the outreach committee that I'm leading. I'm new to this, but in the sake of it, the goal of the outreach community is to make the general public of Anchorage, Girdwood, and Eagle River, and Truget very much more aware of community councils in general and the purpose and the function that that they provide for the city government and communities. Because there was a meeting that the executive board had with the mayor's office, and we made some comments to the mayor's office, namely about the needs of the federation and the local community councils. And a lot of talk was also about outreach, which I had stake in, but namely for the sake of the outreach committee is trying to find as many ideas as we can to get the general public more aware of what we do here in this office, as well as the community councils, bringing more people to the community councils for engagement. I had a conversation with Ari, with Anthony Sadler of the Social Studies Curriculum Coordinator, who works with the Anchorage School District, and we talked about ideas of potentially having representatives of the Federation or local community councils perhaps present about community councils in school, because in my experience, there was a general lack of knowledge of what community councils were in the Anchorage School District, and many people go much of their adult lives until they realize what a community council is. And so outreach is the main goal of the committee, and if anyone wants to help and join the outreach committee, I'd be more than happy, and please bring your ideas to me. I want to try and make a lot more people aware. So yeah, and ask me about any questions about, what we were talking about with it, and bring me ideas, please.
Can you differentiate between outreach and communications then, the two different roles of the committees?
I cannot, but I can define what the outreach was. I'm not so
I can-
familiar with communication.
Yes.
Team assist. So I think, what Evan is talking about is how to like bring more people to the table. And the communications focus is on sharing the message and telling the story of community councils. And so, and a lot of that is like supporting Ari with the website and sort of those elements of making sure that we're broadly communicating the work of community councils, how to access them, and then, but the work of the like outreach committee is to build connections, to bring people to the table. And we're gonna tell the story. And communicate.
Looks like there could be some.
Well, I think like in any of those spaces there are, but
I'm just saying.
The difference for communications and outreach.
yeah.
I think communications is more like,
That in more
like
internal.
yeah,
Yeah.
website and policies around like retention and like internal stuff, and then
Okay.
I think outreach is more like programmatic. Another chat. I can't. Okay. Bye, Al. Yep. Okay.
I'll leave it.
6:53. That's Al. But we don't have any other votes. Nope. That's the great thing. All the votes hopefully are done in the first. Hello.
Which one was first thing?
You're gonna get rid of it.
I knew it was gonna happen.
I just. We all had we had like, the retreat today. And I was like, I'm doing 5:30, or they're doing those out, I didn't say. But, I was like, 5:30, well, yeah. I love that. And then Barbara was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, I'm actually." And then they all have to drink after it. No. All in, like my phone's at like 3%, and my response is like, oh, we're at the FCC offices. I gotta charge it. You have our phone. In person, yeah, 5 seconds, come on. I'm like, you can charge your phone. Welcome, Tom, and a lot. Oh, man. I want to.
That job you gotta have.
I love it.
Yeah. And you know what's great? They work for Airport.
Maintenance so that.
We're so sorry, we're having technical difficulties.
Erosion maintenance, making sure that the soccer field's all nice, and then the Nordic Sea is getting a new building.
At least.
Where, they're gonna be widening the air,
I have to take this one.
Substation, substation upgrade on the way to the airport. The airport is moving right now.
Yeah.
Go through the finish one for the namesake.
Did you?
Great.
Good.
Top of
Yeah,
my mind,
you
but-
did that, and then I think.
A lot of summer. activities.
It's such a shock.
The big thing that was affected was the airport and the big city by Johannes. Traffic calming.
Did you?
Traffic calming problems or
I didn't.
projects are one of these. All
All right, 7 o'clock. Nice. All
Sorry.
right,
Yeah. And then.
all right, we're gonna call this meeting back to order. And I think now, just to reorient everyone, we are in the second part of our meeting, and it is the FCC Community Council Collaboration Meeting. And so this is our opportunity to be thinking more directly about the community councils and our role as delegates and less about the business of the 501c3. And I think the first thing that we kind of want to kick off this is a conversation about, this provides us with an opportunity for ad hoc committees. So I think, we just talked about committees previously in the first half of this meeting, and that was, business committees for the very specific sort of 501c3 functions. But now this is the opportunity if folks are excited about a protected bike lane in your community or any other kind of trails, parks, anything like that. This is an opportunity for folks to come together and like establish ad hoc committees that could really sort of use the voices and the people of community councils to move forward ideas. And so I think we're just pushing this out there. We're letting folks begin to think about this. And this is, I think, one thing we recognize is this is an opportunity and a way for our organization to, begin to flex its muscles and really show up in spaces and sort of share the community that we want to live in. And the great thing about this is because we have a fantastic crew here, they're able to provide support, scheduling meetings and assisting with all that. And so if you have something that you're excited about and you want to like partner with some other delegates, connect with other members of our community from across the city to move stuff forward, this is a great opportunity. And like, once we begin to establish these ad hoc committees, we'll communicate broadly and invite other folks to join and become part of that. And then we'll have the opportunity to like bring action and resolution back to this body and back to all of the councils. And so I think this is just really recognizing this opportunity to really lean into who we are as the community, the Federation of Community Councils and the delegates, and find really meaningful ways to move our community forward.
Yep, basically, if calling these ad hocs allows me to then help facilitate it. So if your council is like, I had a council be like, we really want to talk about public safety with other councils, like, how do we get this going? This is that way you reach out to myself and Amanda or whoever our future chair is, and that gets called, and then I can, reach out to all the councils, let them know that this is here, see if they want to send a delegate, and then that communication can get started. So that's kind of it.
Any questions or concerns, thoughts, feelings, emotions? Kathy wants to lead one.
Well, I'm just curious, certainly PCC does the same thing, our bylaws allow standing committees and ad hoc. But is there any expectation or, from a staffing perspective of how long these committees would be in effect, depending on what topic we may want to try and cover and how much it might entail in terms of multiple meetings or just one meeting, or, is there a lot of flexibility that, just the idea of it, you don't have to be constrained, like, we're seeing ad hoc committees meeting no more than twice, and, no more than 3 councils involved, and no constraints.
No, I think it would really be like, if you're really impassioned to get something started, then I'm here to support that. So, if you want to do it and lead it and be the person who like starts that call, and I'll do it. And then when energy runs out or the issue is solved or there's no solution, but everybody has decided to move on, then, it'll close at that point.
One thing that I would love to do, but you can tell me if this falls into this category, is to meet with the mayor, meet with the new mayor, have council representatives meet with the new mayor, and just kind of have an opportunity to bring up a variety of things that we collectively may be thinking about, and would love to chat with her early in the administrative timeframe. And it sounds like, Amanda, you might be, actually the person that would help us do that. Have that.
That is something, when the Federation met with the mayor, that we brought up, wanting to facilitate regular meetings, and something I've brought up to the assembly as well, is facilitating like regular meetings between the councils and both bodies of government. I think we can definitely have something of like citywide issues, and if we can get like a group together of these are the things we want to talk about, then yeah, as a section of the Federation, of course, we can ask for a meeting and do that. I think coalescing around like an idea or a subject would probably help that, but yeah.
I appreciate that perspective, Kathy, and I had the opportunity to join the meeting with Mayor LaFrance last week. And, one of the pieces of advice that I often share with, individuals, whether it's the mayor, members of the assembly or others, that, when there are large pieces of policy or, big initiatives being rolled out, that just presenting to the FCC is not a substitute for actually engaging with the councils and the communities themselves. You know, everybody in here represents an area or a community council, but meeting just with you doesn't mean, hey, I met with the Trinity Community Council in this area, you know, has had their chance to have their input. You know, if I had my way, this is me speaking as me, I would prefer that those policymakers actually forego meeting with the FCC on some of these types of things and actually meet with the community council itself, particularly when particularly when it's the most effective community councils. You know, if you had something that was related to the airport, I would expect that they would come to the community council in Turnigan. And then back to the question of which policy committees might be appropriate for ad hoc. Obviously, different parts of town care about different things, but and I know that my own personal passions play a role in this, but I think that housing and homelessness is probably one of the biggest issues touching all of our communities. And, you know, some of our most populous community councils aren't here at the FCC meetings. I don't have a representative from like Northeast Community Council, for instance. I know that, you know, there's been work on like blighted property, tear down recently. We had several structures in Mountain View that were torn down here in the last week or so. In Muldoon, there were quite a few that were torn down. You know, those kinds of things that's the real like neighborhood impact type thing. I guess if I had a suggestion for a type of committee that maybe was really impactful, that it would be something around that kind of topic. So thanks for letting me segue that.
Oh, sure. If I can respond, I guess, I mean, as a volunteer, president and, you know, and delegate, which I love the position and really appreciate the council's, you know, efforts. But that's what I looked to the FCC, like, okay, but you should just call the mayor and schedule something. You know, it'd be easier to have, and there might be other councils that would be interested in it as well. Well, I'm not gonna throw out an idea because my head's spinning with lots of ideas. But I would prefer to be able to, as a volunteer, to rely on the supportive staffing and the executive board, if necessary, to see the executive board needing to be a part of that, to help facilitate it so that his volunteer, any other council delegate volunteer, have to do it on their own.
Right.
That's my thinking of how these ad hoc committees, you know, work, is we get that support. We don't have to come up with it on our own and do it on our own. And until we know if there's any other interest from any other councils, you know, I mean, that's the unknown. If you're telling each council to just go do it yourself. And I don't disagree with your emphasis on what you just said.
And I will say, I think like we are beginning the conversation, and I think there'll be more opportunities to bring forward other ideas and sort of move that forward. But just in the interest of time, we are now 4 minutes behind, and we do have government updates, and we do have Barbara Jones from the Office of Mayor LaFrance, which is 2A on our agenda. Barbara, you're on mute, but if you want to provide us an update, we would be grateful to hear it.
Sure. Thank you, Amanda. And thank you to all of the delegates. There was a time when I was a substitute delegate to the Federation. And of course, I loved my time serving as an officer for my community council for many years. So it's a pleasure to be back in this different capacity. And so I've got 3 things that I'd like to report to you from Mayor LaFrance's office. And the first is that I think many of you know Mayor LaFrance's priorities, and those priorities are good government, safe streets and trails, and building our future. And I expect the second thing I'm going to tell you is that the mayor is committed to having a representative attend the Federation delegate meetings once a month, and we're going to provide you updates about the priorities and the successes. And also, we're here to listen and hear what the delegates, the community councils, and all of your members have to say to the mayor. And so I think that's 3. I got them in 2, but the third thing I wanted to tell you was that the mayor did meet with the executive board of the Federation in the last month. And we're going to set up a regular meeting, probably annually, to make sure that we're meeting with the Federation. And we're open to hearing. The mayor's had a number of meetings with different community council reps, and we're here to listen and hear your ideas and how to make these priorities and strategies a reality in Anchorage. So that's it from the mayor's office.
Can I ask a question? This is Amanda, that came up earlier. If there was a larger group of community council members outside of the executive committee, or do you think that the mayor would be available to meet with those individuals?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Kathy? No, I'm just letting, I asked your question for you.
Yeah, but it would not be set up through the staff, it would be up to the.
I can help set it up.
Okay.
I can help like actually facilitate it. We can figure out like who wants to participate and I'm happy to facilitate it.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything, thank you, Barbara Jones, for your update. Any questions, concerns, thoughts, feelings from the delegates for Ms. Barbara Jones?
Barbara, thank you for taking the time to meet with the executive board and have the mayor meet with us. Appreciate that. That was a good way to start the administration. So thank you. It's been a long time since we've had that kind of relationship. Thank you.
I know you've had a full day, so thank you for joining us, and we will let you get home safely.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. And I will say they don't have a assigned person yet for the councils, but once that is decided, I will notice all of the presidents and delegates of that person, so. For now, I was told that you can just send it to the, if you want a representative from the mayor's office at your meetings, you can just send it to the general mayoral email.
mayor@anchorageak.gov.
Yep, and they will get back to you.
All right, it looks as though we do not have a representative from the Anchorage Assembly or the Anchorage School Board, so we will just move down to the agenda to our very exciting Community Council Boundary Changes presentation with Tom Davis.
Hi, Tom Davis, Municipal Planning Department, and thank you for inviting me to report update on the Community Council Boundaries Project, the Federation. I would like to do 3 things, is just provide an update and kind of a reminder background about this public process to update Community Council district boundaries as the process has been on hiatus for a while. And secondly, to just give you a recap of that public process because so many people from the community councils were involved in it. And then thirdly, most importantly, next steps and what we would like from the community councils over the next couple months and what we would like you to bring back the message you to bring back to your community council from this meeting for action in September, October, November, December. The 10-year review of the Community Council Boundaries Project, the public process is resuming in September. It began in late 2022 with outreach to the Federation and the municipality with an online questionnaire and then the formation of a boundary advisory committee, which met and reviewed a series of boundary study areas that folks had identified. And it progressed through about 6 meetings of that boundary advisory committee, and they completed their review in July 2023. So in September, we'll be rolling out the results of that public process as a public hearing draft set of recommended community council district boundaries. In most areas, the proposed boundaries are the same as the existing ones. There's no changes. But in approximately 10 areas, the planning department and the boundary advisory committee recommended changing boundaries. When this is released in late September, there'll be a 2-month review period where we'll be asking for feedback from the community councils, and we'll go over that in a minute. But first of all, just the background for those of you who were not able to follow the process a year or two ago. Every 10 years, the municipality is required to review community council boundaries and reach out to the public and ask for comments about whether any boundaries need adjusting or changing, any districts are inactive, to ensure that the community council districts, your district areas, continue to reflect actual natural geographic neighborhood communities in your areas and provide representation for those areas. Community council districts are recognized in municipal code, and in fact, the maps or where the district boundaries are burned right into the municipal code in section 2.40, AMC 2.40. And only the assembly can change a recognized community council boundary. So when these public hearing recommendations come forward, for those of you who've been following the project or followed it in 2023, it was just a report and some maps. When you see it come out, you will see an ordinance that you have to change the code by ordinance. It'll be a proposed ordinance. Just a quick recap of the process in 2022, 2023. So the process began with an online questionnaire survey that went out to about 10,000 people in all the community councils. And between November 2022 and February 2023, we received 420 responses from folks, as well as responses from some community council boards and officers. And most people were satisfied with the existing boundaries. Stated about half said no changes should be made, and then another quarter weren't sure they didn't have any changes to suggest. But about 1/5 of the respondents identified areas where they requested there be a review of a district boundary somewhere. And we honored each and every request. Those responses became the basis for a set of about 36 boundary study areas. Areas we identified based on the comments for further evaluation. And these became boundary study areas. There's about 36 of them. A boundary study area didn't mean necessarily that anyone's going to recommend a change, but they were just for further evaluation. And that's what we did. With the help of the Federation and community councils and a set of 12 volunteers, from, leadership from within community councils or members of community councils became, the Boundary Advisory Committee. Boundary Advisory Committee was, the main sounding board for this project in 2023. And that group, with the chair, with ex officio member Daryl Hess, helping, they evaluated all of the boundary study areas over the course of 6 meetings that ended about a year ago, September 2020. We applied a set of boundary review criteria that are based on municipal code. And we reached out to presidents and officers in areas that were potentially affected. And the committee, we looked at alternative options for how to address each study area. And they came up with a set of recommendations. In most cases, recommendation was retain existing boundaries, no change. But in about 10 areas, the committee and the staff recommended changes. So you can find with this document, and we will email it out to you and all officers of community councils tomorrow. You can find the action summary. It's on the project webpage, and it's a quick summary of what the Boundary Advisory Committee recommended for each area of town. You can also find the boundary study areas and the maps for where these areas are as well. It's in a set of white papers on the project website, and they're mentioned in this document that we're sharing on the screen and that I passed around. So all this information will come out at the end of September as part of a public hearing draft set of materials to review. So you'll get this ordinance, you'll get this set of maps with beautiful new maps, recommended community council boundaries. And then next to that, you will receive, there will be a report that contains all the materials in these white papers and study area maps that tell you exactly where we studied and which areas are proposed to be transferred from one community council to another. So you have all that information at the end of September. And lastly, I'd like to go over the next steps. What we're doing internally in the planning department with the help of their GIS folks is to develop these new maps. The maps that are in code are they're like 23 years old. And so we're trying to create a better, more useful set of maps. And those maps will reflect the recommended boundaries. In September, beginning in September, we would appreciate if the community councils will basically do 5 things. First of all, and that they're kind of listed in the backside of that document we're sharing that I passed out. There's some set of bulletins, next steps. First of all, if you as delegates could encourage your executive board to introduce this topic on the agenda of your September general membership meeting and executive committee meeting in September. Draft will not yet be out, but we want you to be out in front of it and to be aware of it, because I know it takes time to absorb the fact that there's something for you to review and comment on. In the last week of September, and actually to assign a member or an officer who will follow this project and who can ask questions of myself, Ryan Yell, manager of long range planning, questions, and identify if the study area is of interest or it affects your community council. Some person will follow this and bring this back to your council during the next coming months. The last week of September, please be please be on the watch for public notice and emails to you and your executive committee compadres announcing that the public hearing draft materials are now out available. This will be planning and zoning case 2024-100. So when those are released, really, please do distribute to your people who would review it, comment on it. In October and November, the community councils will have 2 months to review it. And that means you really have like October to like let it sink in and deliberate a little bit. And then November, it's almost time to have, if the community council wishes to comment, to have some form of written comments. So that's request number 4, is to put this topic on your general membership meeting agendas for October and November. And position yourselves to be able to deliberate with your general membership in those months, and to be able to develop and vote on and adopt a resolution from your community council. So we are looking for comments from the community council in the form of resolutions that your general membership will vote on and adopt. And that's really important in this case. And those resolutions would state your community council's position and your comments on the recommended boundaries. So in the event of your community council, if it is in a boundary study area, you will have me, planning staff, approaching you, seeking comments in the form of a resolution. So during October and November, planning staff, Ryan, will be available if there's interest in a request to have us visit, but also working with the Community Council Center, provide any technical assistance in preparing a starter draft resolution. If your community council needs a little bit of help with that, just be a starter draft. We won't suggest what you're going to say, but how you can bring it across effectively. In December, the Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing, and we're going to aim at having the Planning and Zoning Commission hold it in the first week of December and continue it to the second week. The Planning and Zoning Commission only recommends the forward its recommendations to the Assembly. In the first quarter of 2025, the Assembly will hold its public hearing and take final action. You are central, community councils are central to this. This boundary issue is in your wheelhouse. And so we're absolutely in need of feedback from community councils, support, concern. These are your boundaries, but it is also an excellent opportunity to inform your members and to learn about how community council districts are formed and why they are where they are and how we change those boundaries. So it's a great education opportunity. If you really want to nerd out on this, your friends at the Boundary Advisory Committee over 6 meetings, they did a very diligent, thorough job of reviewing boundary issues and debating big issues like the role of community councils and what are relevant factors in what decides an area should be in one district or another. So they're very informative minutes, and they're also available on the website. And I think all of us involved in that process came away educated. The outcome we hope for are stronger districts. Either they're updated or improved, or they're just reconfirmed. Better usable maps. And just a great public process that just strengthens and reconfirms the community councils. So tonight was all about process. I didn't get into where the changes are proposed. Even if your district isn't necessarily recommended to have changes, your community council district may have requested changes be made, but changes weren't made. Or during the process, the Planning and Zoning Commission or assembly member may seek changes in your area that weren't recommended. So it's really, it's not a bad idea for a community council to pay attention to this. And even if changes aren't being made, if you like where your boundaries are now, your community council wants to keep them, it doesn't hurt to say that. Even if there aren't changes in your area. So any questions? Thank you.
As part of the conversation about councils that are like significantly larger than other councils, is that something that came up as a concern throughout this process? Like Northeast Community Council has 22-ish people, whereas some councils just have a couple hundred.
Right, so, there isn't any size criteria for what makes a community council too big or too small. And, there are several very large community councils at Abbott Loop, Sand Lake, and
Jernigan, because we split the airport.
Oh.
well, population wise.
Oh,
And Northeast, those are the big three.
Yeah.
And I would say they're all similar in population.
Uh-huh.
And it was in Northeast where, from the questionnaire survey, there was a lot of feedback about this community council is too large. We need to figure out how to either divide it or move parts of it to another district. And so the Boundary Advisory Committee looked into that, but what we found is that the size of community councils may be the appropriate size. Just varies by the type of area they're in. You have Basher here. Basher there is happy as clams. They have several hundred members. Sand Lake, you have 25,000 members. In the case of Northeast, what the Boundary Committee recommended was that the Assembly, as part of this process, at the end of this process, that the Assembly, in addition to adopting the ordinance, changing some boundaries, that they also adopt a resolution expressing support for dividing Northeast Community Council, north and south, if and when a group that wishes to form and operate a community council in its southern half comes forward and meets the criteria for being recognized.
So that would be something that would come from within the council to do the actual action. Beautiful, thank you.
Hey, Tom, two questions. One, do you have a copy of the action summary here? I know that a lot of councils are gonna be more interested to take this up if it impacts them. And being able to share the summary might be one way to let them know how they might be impacted or not. And then I guess the other one was, do we have a list of population, like councils by population, like a breakdown of that? And maybe I missed that.
First of all, I have one copy here tonight in hard copy. The item we're sharing online and that you've received hard copy of, which I will email out tomorrow, has links to where you can get to this action summary. And the action summary is a couple pages long but it's available on the project website.
But we can email it out. Yeah, I can include it in a follow-up email.
Yes, because I went to the project website and there's a lot of documents. But I think the one that everyone's gonna wanna know about is the project summary and the recommendations.
It's in bold.
Yeah. It's like several have been bold. It's like way down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions from Tom, just in the interest of time?
Yeah, I do have a question. Can you just very briefly indicate which councils are affected by the committee proposed recommendations? I mean, just so we know right off the bat, if we should, pay extra attention to this.
And we do
Or
intend
not.
to provide population data, just following up.
Oh, cool.
Thank you.
So I mean, or just tell me how many councils were potentially be affected, and that would answer
Yeah,
the question,
you know,
just spiel them off.
the east end of university areas recommended a transfer to scenic, foothills. Um, Todd's here, the, two-year community council, which was not meeting quorum, is recommended to be merged into a university area. The Spinard Beach Park recommended to be shared in some way
Yeah,
between its
familiar with that one.
It's friendly community councils, the south, area south of 15th Avenue between A and C streets is recommended to be transferred from Fairview to South Addition. There are 3 community councils south of Diamond Center that, their officers met, had a great meeting, and they reviewed 3 boundary study areas in their area, and the area of Taku Campbell south of Diamond Boulevard is recommended to transfer to Bayshore, Bayshore Plat, and then Old Seward Ocean View is recommended to take in the area of Bayshore Plat that's east of C Street, south of Minnesota.
Portage.
And Portage.
Portage merchants.
Last but not least, Portage, making our largest community council even larger. Community council.
Okay, thank you, Tom, I appreciate it.
Portage is around 10 or 12 people.
Portage has not been meeting for some years. And I may have missed 1 or 2,
But
but
thank you.
again,
But not Turnigan, maybe more specifically for Kathy's concerns.
Well, yeah, Spinard and Jernigan proposed to jointly share, Spinard Beach, or I mean,
This Bernard
Spinard
Beach.
Beach Park.
but I think it's very, and there's a portion of Rogers Park, eastern portion that's recommended to transfer to Airport Heights, but I would not just, if your community council hasn't just been mentioned, it's not a reason to not pay attention. There's issues between Mountain View and Airport Heights, there are issues between other areas. It's worth paying attention and stating what the community council's position is, even if your area wasn't proposed, Kevin, to change.
Can I just want to really focus on time because we do have school board, and then one of the most important parts of this agenda is to hear all the voices. And so Kathleen, I know you have a question, but
Well, it's not a question, it's maybe just a comment to help it. The other area as a part of the boundary study was areas that weren't included in any community council. As a part of that process, you did include in the community council, like the area that is part of Northway Mall, part of that area wasn't in, and it was moved into a council area. That was one of the other items of the study purposes.
Yeah, we wanted every area to be represented.
Right.
Thank you so much. And moving on the agenda, we have school board member Andy Holloman joining us now, and we will let you give a brief 5-minute update. Starting at 7:38, and just to recognize that we're a little bit behind on our agenda, so we'll give you to 5 minutes.
Okay, I'll make it a 2-minute update.
Love it.
School has started, and if you drive a car on the streets of Anchorage, you probably noticed that. The first couple of weeks of school are particularly congested. A lot of parents like to drive their kids the first few days. We're hoping more of them will be on buses pretty soon. And of course, we have changed start times, so we have put some more traffic out during what were busy times before. So other than that, I'm happy to answer questions. We don't have too much going on, I think, that directly goes to the council. But I'll also say this is my first meeting, so I'm not completely familiar with what happens, but yes.
Annie, I have a question. I was told in June that at the September school board meeting, you guys will be discussing the school board attendance at community council meetings. Is that still correct?
We do have a change in policy. We're going to try very hard to have a school board member at every community council meeting. We are handling the north end of town, Eagle River, Chugiak, a little differently. And it's a combination of things. One, we don't happen to have a board member that lives in that area. And two, they've been the most difficult to track. There are several out there that don't do blended meetings. And there have been times when it's been posted they were going to have a meeting and they didn't, or it wasn't posted they were going to have a meeting and they did. So it has been a little bit erratic. But we are stepping back a little bit. We actually had an effort to not allow board members to be in leadership positions if they weren't attending a certain percentage of meetings. But we also weren't really tracking it. So we're revising policy a little bit to fit reality, so to speak, but it is our hope to have a board member at every meeting every time.
So there have been a couple of councils that have passed resolutions in like commentary to that proposal change. Is there a chance for councils to weigh in on this, or has this already happened?
Let me make sure I know exactly where our policy changes are at, and I'll need to report back to you. I don't believe it has changed yet, that it still may be being worked in committee. But I will, I'll check on that in email and get back with you.
And I'll let the delegates know. But yeah, if there is a chance for feedback or like a public discussion of that policy change, I think we would want to know.
I do want to say, I don't think people will see a big change. I am going to try to track it and work a little more with board members that when they can't make a meeting, that we find someone to fill in. That was real common before COVID hit, and we were driving to everything. But then during COVID, there were times I had 3 different Zooms up at once, and we got through that. But we want to have a member at every meeting when we can. And so I think that's what you'll continue to see.
Great, thank you.
Great, we can.
A quick question. So at the beginning of the school year, you typically rotate and change who the representative for each. When would we find out?
I sent those out last week.
Okay, see, I've had.
Or earlier this week. They just came through and I just sent them, so.
Thank you, Andy.
Any other questions? Cool, thank you,
Yep.
School Board Member Holloman.
Yeah, we'll see you next month.
President.
You just never know what people are going to do.
Yeah, apparently not the board. Cool, thank you for being here. And moving down to the agenda to what I think is one of the most important part of the meeting is the council updates, the opportunity for councils to talk to each other and share what you're working on. Do you want to know? You want to know something? Add it, Lou.
Yes, we had a, cooperating with the Native Charter School, to pull weeds in Atkins Park. As you know, the Atkins school, elementary school was closed down, and then the Native Charter School came in with that building. There's a park behind it, the Atkins Park. It has the South Fork of Little Campbell Creek runs behind it. There are fish in there, and it's been overrun with bird cherry. So we went in and had one of our meetings. We went in and took a picnic and pulled bird cherry out of the park. It's going to take a lot more work, because they've got big bird cherry trees that we're gonna have taken out. We're going to be adopting that park in conjunction with the school. So that's what we're working on. And then we've got our elections are coming up in September.
Thank you. Airport Heights, that's me. We took a break over the summer. Nothing to report. Basher.
Basher doesn't have too much going on now. We did have a summer picnic and didn't do business on that. So we haven't had a meeting since May. That was the last regular council meeting. And that's it.
Cool. Bayshore Plat.
Eagle River is.
Thank you. Bear Valley, not here. Sorry, Campbell Park, Kevin.
We just met on Thursday night, the 15th of August. And had good reports from Senator Forrest Dunbar and Council Member Rivera. Including in Rivera's report was the discussion on what may come up as a proposed sales tax for municipalities. So there's some discussion on that and the subjects of course, homelessness and some of the work on abatement of camps and what that protocol's been. And a little bit of discussion and I mentioned earlier, kind of the ask, which we did answer here a little bit about upcoming training.
Cool. Thank you. Fairview, James.
Hey, everybody. So we had our block party, our third annual block party on July 21st, right next to Elder Davis Elementary School. It was awesome, definitely the best turnout, and we had a ton of events. It was really big, family friendly. We had the National Guard came out, the rock climbing wall, basketball. We had an adult sized bounce house. We had a full stage with music and food trucks and vendors and snow cone machines and face painting and balloons and the dunk tank and the list goes on. So it was fantastic. Save the date next year, July 19th, Saturday. We're gonna keep doing it every year. And if you have kids, families, it was a blast. The kids had their own amusement park basically. And we had a lot of agencies associated with different things that Fairview has going on show up, including, DOT was there and HDR was there, and of course the Fairview Community Council and Reconnecting Fairview Committee with Lindsay and NeighborWorks, and gosh, it was just a blast. And the sun came out again, and we had the air show we were competing with. They gave us a little show while we were breaking down. They were flying overhead, breaking the sound barrier, and it was unbelievable. We had a beer garden too, for those that, indulge. Lower consumption of alcohol this year, that's never a bad thing. But there was chalk on the sidewalk and it was just, kids were they were toast. They were telling their parents, we gotta go home, we're done. So, that was a blast. And then Reconnecting the Fairview Committee is, off to the races. We have an RFP out for the implementation of those federal grant funds, over $500,000. You guys are familiar with that, just to work with, and working kind of alongside with DOT with the highway project and everything. And they're working on their alternatives. We're trying not to duplicate, efforts and trying our best to work with them, even though, they have a more of, prerogative for transportation, i.e. the Seward Glen couplet, whereas to us, it's our neighborhood. So we're trying to, go the same direction, as you guys all know. So we're working on that, implementing those funds, camp abatements, A Street and Lions Park, a lot of public outreach on those, a lot of community council outreach on the negative impacts there. And of course, other communities are now feeling a lot of those as well, like Midtown. They came out of the housing homeless list today in Forest. And it's just interesting to hear a more affluent part of town, whereas Fairview's felt it for 40 years. And, we're just hoping that, we can continue to not see those impacts push back into Fairview. And then on another note, there is a District 1 leadership meeting going on that some of you know about, and that's kind of a parallel meeting to some of the community council stuff. So some of the community council leaders in District 1 getting together, talking about priorities, and Amanda knows all about that. And that's been really, really good to get together with District 1 people and talk about some of the common goals. And we're gonna be meeting a second time this month to discuss common priorities and just see what we can get moving, talking with the new administration. And downtown's a big part of, Anchorage and Alaska, and how we make money, and, high tax district. And right now we're sort of, we're hoping to improve and recover from what's happened more recently. And so maybe we can, bolster some tourism and things that make us money so that we can have money to do things with, because we need money first. So, that's all I've got right now. Thanks.
And just important to note that the Fairview Lions Park was abated before the Central Lutheran, and the sort of recognizing how close that was to Fairview Elementary, and to sort of
it was
also.
Abated prior, and there was actually a pre-abatement even before they abated it. It was the second time, because I was over there talking to mechanics, and Dean over there, Dean's Automotive, and there were already signs up.
Yeah.
On the adjacent green strip, and then the kind of the other pop-up across from Swicker came up, and then that was abated, correct, prior to the A Street. And then, you know, there is in our backyard program, which is gonna be 6 small houses, and the Fairview Community Council we've written the executive board wrote a letter of non-objection to that program, as long as it doesn't have any impacts to the community, which is a huge caveat. So again, it's great to see small programs like this. Obviously, Fairview isn't the greatest place to do it, start, but it's, you know, in the past, we've heard a lot of churches wanted to help, and hopefully they can with this new administration, some collaboration and what she was kind of talking about, which is, you know, working together.
Gonna take us off.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't do it all.
Hopefully.
Huffman O'Malley, Jason?
Yeah, we had our first meeting coming off the summer break. Same issue, we had Walter Featherly present on, Project Anchorage, and vociferous and lengthy conversations. So that's really all, that was the big item for us coming back off summer break. I'm sure there's more to come. One thing is, you had mentioned perhaps an ad hoc housing community. If that is something people are interested in, I would like to join.
Right. I love to hear it. Cool. Okay. Who's leading it?
Bob French from Government Hill. Wanted to say that, what's that?
I will say that you had all these letters up there that were all jumbled together, and I didn't know that you were still online. So thank you for speaking up.
Well, I heard that I got jumped over. So anyway, we are going to have our first meeting for the fall in September. This summer, we've been working, trying to figure out how to get some of the grants that we have for abating some bird cherries and doing some wayfinding and signage around Government Hill. Trying to figure out how to get those grants administered, because the FCC said that we were not going to be able to administer them anymore. So looks like that's going to get sorted out, but I think we kind of lost the summer's activities here. Anyway, next meeting is on September. Thanks.
Hey, Bob, just to flag for you, we have put together the fiscal policy, and I think that there is opportunities, and the FCC really wants to support community councils in that way. And so you should get with Ari, or your community council should get with Ari on how we can make that happen. Because I think we want to have a program that supports the community councils, but also protects the 501c3 status of our organization. So Ari will follow up with you, or you can follow up with her.
I know that Jody, our president, has been coordinating with Ari on that, so I think we hopefully have it figured out.
Yeah. Want to say that you think that there's solutions available.
I'm going to jump. Oh, I was going to jump in as another G.
Oh, no, I missed that one too.
No respect for G.
Oh, Mike.
I've cut this down to a shortish list of just 7 things.
Love it.
But I'll be quick. We have a couple of issues with, or a couple of utility issues going on at the moment. One is Chugach has a policy, has a program. 2% of their income revenue goes to undergrounding power lines. And our town centre area, we discovered the power lines are actually outside the easement. So you have this weird contradiction. If you meet the separation requirements of Chugach asked for, you can't meet land use code, because we have kind of maximum setbacks as well, and they end up overlapping. So we're going to try and encourage Chugach to put undergrounding and power lines in our town square centre on their capital project. We also discovered there's an opportunity for advocating potentially getting funding from federal funding for waterline work. So we're going to advocate for waterline extension to the other part of the we have the ever-present issues around short-term rentals and regulations we're pushing forward. There's a couple of community members interested in pushing for a historical district in the old Park Girdwood. So we're going to be looking at discovering that process. I'll help get that. The comprehensive plan rewrite has gone through planning and zoning, and now it's coming up to the assembly. So that's gained a lot of interest, a lot of support. People want to know how to support it. We had some questions about a couple of levies in the community. about one of them is running quite aggressively and nobody seems to know how these are managed and how they're maintained. So we've been working on that. And finally, it's the issue of sales tax. We had a presentation a couple of months ago, and there's lots of interest and opinions in the community about how that affects both Goodrich generally and people across Anchorage, or Goodrich specifically and people across Anchorage more generally.
Thank you. Apologies.
No respect.
All the respect. Mountain View.
Mountain View,
Ari's gonna help me from here on out. It's been a full day.
we had our Mountain View Street Fair on July 27th. I don't think we had an adult-sized bounce house. I didn't know it was an option.
I know.
$200 I was offered, $150.
No
adults
We'd
ever.
love to do a joint street fair.
That'd be so rad.
We did pass a resolution recently regarding the ASD policy. It was kind of spontaneous. The council voted to support having continued attendance of ASD representatives as a mandatory thing. There was some concern about the Boys and Girls Club not having enough funding to do busing of students from the Boys and Girls Club to Tyson Elementary and other places like that. My understanding is that they don't do morning programming anymore, like at Woodland Park. And so a lot of the children can't walk between Tyson and the Boys and Girls Club in Mountain View. And so there's some concern about the ability of them to continue to provide services for a lot of the neighborhood's children. This has been brought up for the last 3 or 4 months, and I don't know what the solution will be. And then lastly, Mike mentioned the undergrounding issue. We're very much aware, MLMP, before they were merged into Chugach, they had a 5-year plan that they would put out from time to time. And as a rental community, all the renters would pay their, 2% monthly surcharge for undergrounding. And if you read the 5-year plan, it says the plan for Mountain View to do undergrounding is by the year 2200.
Oh, cool.
So our great grandchildren's grandchildren may have. It's in the 5-year plan. And which we repeatedly brought up to Chugach. There is no undergrounding in that community, which is one of Anchorage's oldest. So good luck getting it.
Old Seward. Online.
Nothing new for us. Next meeting is September 18th. Well, that's it.
Thanks for being here. Kathleen.
Rush and Jack had their cleanup this spring, and we were off for the summer. We don't meet again till September. That's it.
Cool. Sand Lake.
I was absent for the June meeting because of summer school, but I will briefly run over it. There was nothing over the summer for the meeting, but in the June meeting minutes, the main things were Kincaid soccer field improvements. There was a presentation jointly with the Parks and Rec about helping maintain from erosion, as well as the Kincaid Stadium storage that Nordic Skiing Association is building one. The motion was supported by the Sand Lake Community Council. There's going to be some work on a Chugach electrical substation on Raspberry for support for the airport, because there needs to be more energy demands for it. There is talk of the snow removal plot by Sand Lake Road in Sand Lake about how it will be used and for the winter, and that's where snow dumping. And the CIP survey will take up ratification by September. They had all their talks mostly about the CIP that was due by June 15th at that meeting. And the next meeting will be September 9th.
Can I have a motion to extend the meeting for 7 minutes?
Extend by 7 minutes.
Second.
Cool. Todd with Tudor. Thanks for the update, Evan.
Well, we are a insulated and insular community council. And I've lived in my house there for 40 years, and I've been involved with community council off and on for most of that time. We've got 2 things that have been, controversial over the last year or so, and that is Golden Lion being converted into a
housing facility. And that seems to have settled itself out pretty well. I haven't heard of any complaints lately. It looks pretty good down there as far as people, wandering around or trash being outside the building. And then we've got the Stewart Highway overpass 36, which is a big concern for especially the people in Geneva Wood subdivision, which has a boundary there. The last I've heard, it's like 8 to 10 years out if it even happens. So we're not worried about it at this point.
It's the fast track on the federal terms.
Yeah, well, they didn't shove it down our throat this time, so. Like they did with the last iteration of that, so, I'm actually kind of excited about joining with, university area if they'll have us. I think that, at first I didn't like the idea because we've got our own little thing going over there, but not very many people involved, but, anyway, I think it will be a good match and I'm looking forward to it.
I'll give you a little thumbs up, it was cute.
Well, Al gave me the information. It looks like they may lose part of theirs to another community council. We'll take that place and so it won't be overgrown.
Yeah, that's cool.
Plus they meet at the university, which both of us have pretty good
Yeah, that's
access to,
cool.
so.
Kathy, thanks for the update, Todd.
Thank you. Let's see. Well, first of all, thank you, Tom, and the planning department for all of the work done on the multiple reiterations of amending code and so forth. And the board spent many, many hours attending multiple public hearings and late spring, early summer, testifying before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Assembly on multiple public hearings, and ordinances. And so, we took our guidance from the planning department. So thank you, Tom. And I will need to check if our North Rim bank account for Jernigan is using the EIN for FCC. I'm not sure, because that was set up a long time ago. So I'll be in touch when I try and find out more about that. One thing that not Jernigan council specifically, but something that I am going to discuss with the board when we meet and at our September meeting is the really sabotage of landscaped islands in West Northern Lights. Those were put in the mid-80s. $500,000 was spent on landscaping to put all of that in when the road was widened. And I have never seen anything like it in all these decades that I've lived here, where some entity came in and just massacred vegetation cutting back on one of the islands, and on the other one where it had birch trees and then also, undergrowth landscaping, lilac bushes, false spirea, etc. They completely removed it. And my husband Dan and I donated 35 trees 9 years ago to celebrate our 35th anniversary in the Jernigan area. And some of the birch trees that were in that island where they removed all the vegetation underneath. One is broken, one is slanted, the other one has got a branch. It was very upsetting. So I called the ombudsman office. I've been transferred to code enforcement and I still haven't heard anything. So that means I want to know what entity was responsible for that and remediation, because it's devastating to have that happen decades later. It was shocking. Also, with regard to airport stuff, we've been very busy as a board and land use committee meeting, connected with the replacement or relocation of the airport control tower, which also necessitates the relocation of Charlie General Aviation parking lot. And they'll have to relocate the parking area north of Echo Parking and realign Lake Hood Drive off of Northern Lights. And so we have participated heavily at the environmental assessment phase and lease permit comment deadline to FAA is coming up in September, and also the core wetland fill permit is coming up in September. comments, dues, or continue to spend a massive amount of time on that. And we are looking for an update soon on the Fish Creek Trail connection between Northern Lights and the Coastal Trail, because we've heard there's some pretty major legal issues with the route that the project team selected. So we're gonna try and find out more information about that. So thank you.
Yep, thank you so much. Last, but not least, by any means.
Yeah, you're on.
Al, you got an update for us?
Oh, university?
We're gonna
Yeah,
go
we
reverse
last-
order this time, so you'll be first.
We last met in May, and next meeting is September 7th. In June, we were the first community council to submit our CIP, so that was a great accomplishment. And during the summer, we had the Parks and Recreation Youth Corps refurbish our trail at Marion and Wesleyan Drive, and the community over here just loves it. They did a fantastic job, so a kudos to them. Not that. So that's about it for us then.
Cool. Thanks, Al. Thanks for being here, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Before we officially adjourn, just a thank you to Amanda, and congratulations for going first for the new position. Thanks for hanging in there with us on the dual status a little bit. And
Thought I
I
could take it.
appreciate everything that you've done, because this goes back to this last year and change of all the stuff you've done. I just say kudos.
Yeah. We got Ari. We're doing it.